So one of the big things we've always done as a family is we go out and we'll get a real Christmas tree. And for me, that means since we want to make sure we get the best one we possibly can, I do have a little Clark Griswold in me. If you've ever watched Christmas Vacation, the part where he takes his family out to the middle of nowhere to this Christmas tree farm, they find this enormous Christmas tree and the lights beam down around it. And it just looks magnificent. And he's like, that's the one. I do have that a little bit not a little bit. I have a lot of that in me. If you think being a dad is filled with rewards, challenges, or headaches, and you keep pushing forward because you know this is the most important job you're ever going to do, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Dads All In podcast. Welcome to the Dads All In podcast. I hope you're doing great. I hope your family is well. I hope the holiday season is going amazing for you. I'm just glad you're here, my friend. In this episode, I want to talk about the holidays. I'm going to focus mostly on Christmas, but even if you celebrate Hanukkah or any general holiday that comes around this time of year, this is the episode for you because I'm going to share a few things about myself and what I do, but most importantly, I'm going to give you something that you can take away that's going to help you not only this holiday season, but it's going to set you up for next season in a variety of different ways. But before I get into all that, I need to do a little housekeeping. So obviously Christmas is coming up. I'm going to take that week off the podcast. There will not be an episode that drops that week. We will come back the following week after Christmas, and we will gear you up, get you ready for New Year's, as we dive into the New Year's, New You episode, where we focus on maybe some goal-setting things for both you and I as we try to get a growth mindset and improve ourselves a little bit as we head into 2026. And I also want to take a second and remind you the importance of following, rating, and reviewing podcasts and subscribing over on YouTube. It probably doesn't mean much to you. I get it. As somebody who listens to a ton of podcasts himself, I don't fully think about the importance of, hey, if I follow this person, what does that mean to them? But I want to share with you, over the last couple months, I've gotten to know some of the guys who are involved in dad podcasting, and there's not a lot of us. And we're all just trying to do good work to help you as fathers. And it's not easy to get discovered if you're just doing your part to try to give some positivity or some self-help or just improvement overall. I have found it's actually easier to get discovered if you kind of have a negative tone. There's this guy who's on YouTube who I found recently who is spilling all kinds of negative things about how horrible women and mothers are, and his life is ridiculously bad and the troubles he's had, and I'm sure he's had plenty, but his stuff is definitely not uplifting. But you know what's interesting? His YouTube channel has gone through the roof because people are drawn to sensationalized content, stuff that's dramatic. It's entertaining. It's kind of like watching a car wreck. You can't turn away. You want to listen to what this guy has to say. So I understand that. And in many cases, maybe it's therapeutic for some dads to listen and understand that they're not the only ones going through some stuff. But there's a few of us who are out there trying to actually help and give you some content that's going to be helpful for you as a dad, make you a better father. So I say that because if you're willing to follow, rate, review, or subscribe wherever you're getting that content, whether it's me or any other dad podcasts that are out there, that actually helps for getting discovered. And it means that more fathers are going to get the content we put out there. So if you could do that, we'd greatly appreciate it. The other thing I would say is if you could be kind enough to throw a comment in any of the videos you're watching over on the Dads All In Podcast YouTube channel, that will help discovery as well. And it will also help us interact a little bit because I'd love to hear from you. And speaking of hearing from you, I'm an email away, dadsallinpodcast@gmail.com. If you have ideas for upcoming episodes, maybe you've got some general questions about being a dad, or you just want to give me some feedback, whatever your reason, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. As a matter of fact, on a recent video I put out on YouTube, I answered a couple questions from some listeners, some fathers, who were feeling pretty bad and down on themselves because they weren't spending enough time with their kids. As it turns out, they're good dads. They're just not able to spend as much time as they would like to with their kids because of their jobs that they hold. So I did push that out over on YouTube. You can go check that out there. But I say that here because I want you to know I actually do read the emails that come rolling in. So feel free, shoot me an email, dadsallinpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. So let's talk about the holidays. I am a holiday junkie. I love it. The stretch from Thanksgiving to Christmas is my favorite time of year. Number one reason, it seems to bring the best out in people. People who maybe they're not the most empathetic or maybe even the most kind all year long. It seems to pull the best out of them. And I always appreciate it when people go out of their way to help others. I was at the dollar store the other day, and this lady in front of me paid for a couple items for the gentleman who was in front of her. He looked like he was kind of down on his luck and definitely could use some assistance, so she was kind enough to do that. So I then, in turn, paid for the young lady who was behind me and picked up the cost of the couple items that she had. Kindness is contagious, in case you don't know, and it doesn't have to be the holiday season. But specifically during this time of year, people seem to look out for each other even more so than the other times of the year. And as a father, what an amazing opportunity it is for you to showcase what it means to be a good human for your kids, so they see you actually doing some kind of kind deeds for others. It makes a huge impact. I still remember some of the things that my dad did for some other people. He didn't do it because he was showcasing it for me. He was doing it just because he was a good human, still is. But that example he set for me, and it wasn't always just during the holiday season. He just tried to help people, and it set an incredible example for me. And that's something that I try to do the best that I can for my own kids. So I love the holidays because it brings out the best, not only in me, but also other people. It makes the world a little bit better, I think. So in a father's world where we're just swarmed with all this beat your chest masculinity, you've got to be a big human and work out more, and all these things that are not true about being a good dad, even those individuals who are spending 5 hours a day at the gym seem to pause from Thanksgiving to the end of the holiday season and realize, oh, maybe I should make sure I focus on helping others rather than just hitting the bench press for hours on end every day. So not only do I love the holidays, I'm actually kind of a corny Christmas dad about it. And I put a video out on YouTube about this, showing exactly what I mean, and I'm going to dive into that here. But there are a variety of traditions that we've been doing in our house for a number of years now, a long time, going back to when my son was little. And mind you, he's in college now, so it's been a long time. And there's some things that I absolutely love. And I've learned a few things this year about being a corny dad and what it means to my kids. Now, mind you, I've got teenagers. My son's 18, our twin girls are 13, and with that comes a lot of complaining. That's just kind of how it is. There's some great stuff too. You get some satire comedy, which I really enjoy. My daughters really enjoy busting my chops now, which I like. But you also get some general complaining, and some from my wife too. And a lot of the times it's good-natured stuff, like they poke fun at me about all the corny things I enjoy about the holiday season, like putting up Christmas lights, putting the inflatables out in the yard, all the things I do to check those things and get things up and running. I enjoy going around looking at Christmas lights. I love watching the holiday movies, the same ones every year, all these things that a corny Christmas dad would do, and your kids will generally not tell you if they like it. And my kids will usually poke fun at that, which I appreciate. But because they've always done that, through the years, I didn't realize what all of my corniness actually meant to them until yesterday. So one of the big things we've always done as a family is we go out and we'll get a real Christmas tree. And for me, that means, since we want to make sure we get the best one we possibly can, I do have a little Clark Griswold in me. If you've ever watched Christmas Vacation, the part where he takes his family out to the middle of nowhere to this Christmas tree farm. They find this enormous Christmas tree and the lights beam down around it. And it just looks magnificent. And he's like, that's the one. I do have that a little bit not a little bit. I have a lot of that in me. I have Clark Griswold hat. I've got a sweatshirt. I've got the moose glasses. Not that I drink eggnog like he does in the movie, but I'll pour, maybe I'll put a beer in there, or maybe I'll put some coffee in there. I'm a fan of his Christmas spirit, and my kids know it. So I take them every year out into the cold to go get a Christmas tree whenever it opens up. And I do think it's kind of important to get there early so we get our pick on the day that it opens. Now, this year in particular, I had a little bit of different vision. My wife said it was an appointment, so we couldn't get there right at the start of when the Christmas tree farm opened up. And I actually took that pretty well, took it in stride. and I started to look at things a little differently. Like I said, I've got inflatables, I got multicolored lights outside, and these are all things that young kids really love. And my kids used to help me with. Like they'd get jacked up about just checking the inflatables to make sure that they're ready for the year. And I'd pull them up in the garage and fire them up. They'd hug the inflatables, and it was pretty cool stuff. Well, when you have teenagers, those things don't seem to matter very much anymore. So it's literally me and the dogs pumping up the inflatables and checking lights and all that. So I've grown to think maybe it just doesn't mean that much to them anymore. And you know what? That's okay, because life moves and interests change and your kids change over time. It's part of growing up. So I've kind of come to grips with that. And I say that because I thought, you know what? I'm going to tell them maybe this is our last year to get a Christmas tree and we'll just get an artificial one. And I thought, mistakenly, incorrectly, that they would be like, thank God. You're not dragging us out in the cold to do this every year. But I was wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. I thought my wife would have been happy about it. I thought my kids for sure would have been happy about it. But they told me how much it meant to them to do this corny thing where we go out, we pick a tree, we saw it down, we'll do like this little hug test. Basically, we hold hands and go around the tree. This is ultra corny for sure. And we just make sure it's not too wide. And our way of doing that is if we can all reach our hands around it, the five of us, then it'll fit in our living room, I think. So it turns out all these little corny things that Dad has loved through the years, and I thought our kids have grown out of it, is not the case. They do not want me to change the inflatables, because I also said maybe it's time for a more classy, like decorative look. My wife has been calling for it for years. You know what? Maybe it's time. Maybe we go with like white lights and put wreaths up or something. I don't know. It's not really my style, but I'm not the only one who lives in this house. So if that's what everybody wants, that's the way we'll go. They vetoed all of that, much to my surprise, which confirmed for me this very important thing. If you're a corny Christmas dad like myself, or just you've got some weirdness in you in general, it doesn't even have to be the holiday season. Even if your kids don't tell you they like it, they like it. You just don't get a lot of appreciation comments as a dad. That's how it works, I guess. They don't say, oh, I love the fact that you tell dad jokes, or I love that you take us out on the morning of one of the coldest days of the year to cut down a Christmas tree. They don't usually say that. They may complain all the way. But in reality, they do like it. They do like it. And it has confirmed really what I've already known. Because I spent so many years working not only at the elementary level, but I also coached high school soccer for all those years. I've worked with teenagers, boys and girls, for a long time. And I knew that that was the case, but I needed to rehear it and relearn it in order to confirm it yet again. Be your corny, weird self, not just in the holidays, but any time of the year. So because of all that, I thought, you know what, let me share a few of the corny things that I do, specifically one that's going to help you, not just for this year, but looking ahead into next year and setting yourself up for something that can be helpful for you. So because of all of that, I thought, you know what, let me put out an episode that focuses on not just being corny, but some of the things that I do that are a little bit different, that makes me, I guess, would be a holiday type of dad. And I really want to focus on one main thing that I've been doing for a long time that I don't think anybody else does. I mean, maybe there's other people, I just haven't found out about them yet. And it's not only helpful as being a weird, corny father, but it's actually a helpful task that helps you logistically moving into the holiday season when you wrap things up this year and moving into next year. So I've already shared some of the things that are ultra corny, like taking our kids to the Christmas tree farm, but we also go an hour away. We do an hour drive every year to go look at this outside light display, which is amazing, down in Ocean City, Maryland. I love it. We do it every year. We've been doing it since my son was born. And yes, like you, we watch the Christmas movies. We do all kinds of things. But there's one thing in particular that I do that is different that's probably going to be helpful. So each year when I pack up after Christmas is over, somewhere between Christmas and New Year's, or maybe even after New Year's, depending on when I break everything down, all the inflatables and the lights and everything, I spend a few minutes while I sip a cup of coffee and I write myself a letter. It is literally just for me. So I write it that way, like, hey man, hope you're doing great. It is literally just for me. But inside of that letter is where the good stuff lives. I put a variety of things in there every year that will help me. The first thing I put down is like an inventory checklist. Something like, you're going to need to pick up a couple extra strands of lights, or this inflatable, the fan wasn't working so great when you pulled it in at the end last year, so you might want to check that. Or anything else that I think might be helpful as far as the actual decorative portions of getting ready for the holiday season. But I also throw in there like some things that I learned through the season. Like last year, I learned, my wife said it was pretty helpful when I took control of purchasing the gifts for my side of the family, so she didn't have to do it. So she said that was helpful. I was like, okay, I can do that. I put that in there as a reminder for myself because my wife likes to get things done as far in advance as possible so it doesn't all come crashing down the week of Christmas. So I said, make sure you help out with those gifts again this year and you do it early so it's not a big stress, because there's a lot of stressors involved with Christmas for sure, or holidays in general. I say that as someone with Jewish family as well, and I know that they've got plenty of stressors around the Hanukkah season, getting all their gifts together and scheduling all their events as well, so it's a holiday thing. So once I get all those logistics written down, then I start to look at myself, and I say, all right, analyze this whole, not just holiday season, the last year. What's happened this last year for you personally? And this would actually lead into the episode that I'll drop after Christmas when I'm talking about the new year, new you, and setting goals, right? It all kind of ties together. But I look at, what are some good things that have happened? What are some things that maybe weren't great? Are there some things that could be improved upon? And I actually set some goals for myself then as I start to head into the next year. Now, mind you, I don't open this letter until November the following year. It gets stored away with my inflatables and my lights and any of the exterior decorations, all those things that I have. I put it in a Ziploc bag and then I open it up. And I store it actually with all of the other letters that I've done. And this goes back probably 13 years now. I think I've done this, 13 straight years. And I've got a ton of different stuff written in these letters. And it's kind of fun in November to sit down and read through some of the older ones too. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So I take a few minutes and set some goals for myself. I kind of reflect on the previous year and look ahead a little bit. And I'll even throw in some corny stuff like, hey, wonder what the U.S. men's national team's going to do at the World Cup. I'm going to make a prediction about that, and I'll probably be way off. And I'm going to make a prediction about Penn State football, maybe my Eagles and how they're going to do. That's just some silly, entertaining stuff, and I'm very rarely anywhere close to being correct on any of those predictions, but that's all right. It's all part of the fun. And then the next part of what I do is look at the rest of my family and analyze their year. So this year, I'm going to write about my son's first year in college and what we learned. And we learned a ton so far. Super proud of him and all the work he's putting in and some of the changes that are going to be happening for us as we move forward. I talked about this in a previous episode. Like we've had in what is just a matter of 6 months when he started classes last summer till now, he's really gone through and decided on some changes for him ahead, and it's going to change some things. So I'm going to write a little bit about that. I'm going to write a little bit about my daughter and some of the great stuff that she's done, and also some of the medical challenges she's faced. And I'm going to write down, hopefully, some ideas of where we're going to be next year as we set some goals for her. And I'm also going to write a little bit about my other daughter and how far she's come and how proud I am of her as well. And I'm going to say things like, hey, I wonder where we're at with wrestling right now, or where my kids are overall in their school. Anything that I think is helpful to reflect on, I'm going to put it in there. And that might even include things about my wife, because there's been some changes through the years. I remember thinking back, 5 years ago, when my wife was really struggling with some stuff at her job. She used to be an environmental scientist, and we were contemplating some changes for her, writing about that. And it's kind of neat now to go back and look at that time period, as she's somebody who's in charge of a nonprofit organization. Like, those changes were beneficial, and it's kind of neat to go back and think about how far she's come. So all of those things funnel into this letter. And I will even go so far as to write down some other things. Humorous things, interesting things. Like last year, we took a trip to New York City for Christmas. That was amazing. We spent a few days there, a few nights. We did all the things from the Rockettes to go checking out the Rockefeller Christmas tree, bunch of outdoor stuff, looked at the shops. We did so many great things, and I wrote about it. And then I'll even go so far as to write down some comical things that maybe I learned. For example, this is top of the mind for me always. One of my favorite things that I read each year was 10 years ago, how I nearly made a horrific decision. Now, it was a tough time period because my son was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And if you don't know, it means he's insulin dependent. His pancreas has completely shut down. He has to have insulin to live. There's a difference between type 1 and type 2. So type 1 is very intensive. It means enormous changes for families, not just obviously for the kid and for the parents, but also for their siblings too. There's a lot of things that are hard to learn, and you go through this whole challenge. Well, he was diagnosed right before Christmas with type 1 diabetes, and that was super hard. And so I took him to the doctor, and we got that diagnosis. In the meantime, they said, you need to take him to this hospital, which we have a children's hospital where we live. It's about an hour north. And when I called and told my wife and confirmed what we had probably thought was going to happen, she said, he's not going to get to see Santa. And I thought, oh, for an 8-year-old boy, that's kind of heart-wrenching, right? So I said, no worries. We'll swing through the mall quick on our way up there. And unfortunately, Santa was not very receptive. We caught Santa at a rough time. Somewhere between like a break. I don't know if he's going to get a coffee or what, but he was not willing to hear my spiel about, listen, Santa, I got like 5 minutes. We got to get my son to the hospital where we're going to be staying for the next 2 or 3 days. Can you please just let him tell you what he wants for Christmas? I don't even care if we get a picture, man. And he was not receptive. And I went through in my head, like, you know, those moments as a dad when you're about ready to come uncorked. I was about to come uncorked. I thought for a moment there I might tackle Santa. Luckily, my self-regulation skills kicked in, and I thought, how bad would it be if my son, the day my son is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, I compound that with a horrific decision of tackling Santa. I'm probably going to get arrested, and then I would definitely lose my job as an educator, and our whole life would collapse. So I thought better about it, but it did go through my head. Like this guy, I'm like, how can you be so insensitive to not at least pause for a second? I don't even care if he gets on your lap, just listen to him. But that mall Santa was not having it. So that is one of the main things that I enjoy reading about every single year. And it's been 10 years on now because he was diagnosed 10 years ago. So all of that to tell you this, if you take a few minutes at the end of the season and write yourself a letter and tuck it away with all your stuff that you have and bring it out the following year, you're going to be pretty happy that you did. It's going to help you set up for the coming year. It's also going to help you reflect a little bit on the year that you had. The amazing things your family went through, the struggles that your family went through, all of those things are kind of written down like a journal, like if you're journaling. I'm not a big journaler, but this is the one time of the year I write myself a letter, and I've always thought it's pretty beneficial. Think of it like a time capsule, but instead of digging out the ground and stuffing it in the ground and picking it up 25 years later, it's just 1 year. But what happens, though, is over time you accumulate all these, and you store them in a Ziploc bag, and you can pull them out, and you can look them over, and you can laugh, and you can have your heartstrings tugged on, and you can learn about the things you've done logistically through the years that have changed. All the things you've learned as a father can be compiled within these letters, and I've always found that it's helpful. So that's my 2 cents from one corny Christmas father to another dad who I hope you've got some Christmas weird stuff you enjoy doing because your kids like it more than you probably realize. I hope you get a little bit out of that. And finally, I want to close up on this. I want to wish you and your family the happiest of holidays. Enjoy the season. Enjoy your time with your kids. Be the example for them. Tell your funny, corny dad jokes and soak up the opportunities you have with your family. It means a lot, and they will appreciate you for it, even if they do not tell you that they do. I hope you have a great one. Happy holidays, Dad. I'll talk to you again in a couple weeks. Take care. Thanks for sticking around. If you got any questions you want answered on the show, or you just want some feedback or want to share some ideas, shoot me an email, dadsallinpodcast@gmail.com, or send me a DM on any of the socials @rechargedfamily. Thanks for listening.